Hello there. You have joined Edureka's webinar on how to become a digital marketing influencer. My name is Deepa Vasudevan. I'm a marketing and business professional with more than 20 years. So we will briefly be touching upon what digital marketing is all about. Our group is mixed and many of you might need a refresher on it, and hence we will be briefly touching upon the different aspects of digital marketing. We will also discuss what exactly is influence in the digital marketing parlance, how it works, what it means, and who exactly are these influencers. We would be looking for some of the current trends in terms of the types of influencers, what kind of content is good, how frequently people should be engaging, etc., etc. We would also be exploring what do brands get in return. Why do brands want to work with digital marketing influencers and what is in it for them? We will be digging a little deeper into how one can be a digital marketing influencer. What does it take to be a digital marketing influencer? We would also be briefly exploring what are the other roles in digital marketing that one can look at in addition to being an influencer. And we will wind up with what the future holds, what are those things that are likely to happen in the world of digital marketing in the likely future. Okay, I hope some of your expectations from today's webinar would be met by covering these areas. So what do you understand about digital marketing? What do you think is digital marketing? Let's get a brief overview of digital marketing before we proceed to influence and talking about influencers, etc. So marketing is basically reaching out to your consumers, your prospective consumers, your existing consumers, engaging with them, inciting them to buy from your product range or your service range, etc. It's about communication. It's about telling them about your products. It's about engaging with the customers. Now, anything which uses electronic media is basically digital marketing. Today, in today's parlance, digital marketing is more or less synonymous with internet marketing. We also call it internet marketing, or we also call it as online marketing, right? So it's basically promoting your business, reaching out to your customers, using the internet to reach out to them and engage with them. Now, what are the different aspects of digital marketing? There definitely is search. Can you think of anything else in addition to search? Search definitely is one of the biggest way of communicating to customers, reaching out to customers, making them aware about your brand, etc. A good chunk of consumption of content starts with search. We no longer go to a portal to check out what's happening. We just go to a Google or a Bing and we search out what we want to look for, whether it is about US elections or whether it is about the Bihar elections. Also, our purchase journey at times predominantly starts with search. Can you think of any other digital marketing activities, options? Email marketing. Now, email marketing has evolved quite a bit. I mean, it started off sometime in the 1970s, but it's seen quite a bit of a journey over the years. Now, if you look at something which happened, if you look at the emails that you got maybe 10 years back, you would see that you and I would get exactly the same kind of emails. But today, emails are a lot more customized, they are a lot more personalized, they are a reflection of our history with the brand. So that history could be related to transactions, it could be related to our wish list, it could be related to the amount of time we spent, the things that their predictive model says that we might be interested in, etc. So there's quite a bit of data and intelligence that's going into email marketing these days. There's quite a bit of technology also getting into it in terms of automations, in terms of mapping our customer journeys and trying to send us an email at an opportune moment when we are likely to be opening it and when we are likely to be needing it. Yes, there's also social media marketing. We spend a good amount of time today in social media, and that is a big area for marketers these days, whether it is about owning a particular profile or channel, or it's about running a paid campaign on social media. It's emerging as one of the biggest places where people spend most of their time, and hence, as marketers, it's necessary to capture what we call the watering holes. It's necessary to be there at the watering holes. That's the place where people actually congregate or aggregate. So what kind of social media channels do you use? And why do you use it for? What do you use it for? Right. There's a whole lot of social media channels available today, whether it is Facebook or Pinterest or Reddit, etc. And many of us, no doubt, use multiple platforms for social media. There's also mobile marketing. The earlier internet journeys for many of us, like me, for instance, started off with desktop. Then it moved to laptop, and then it moved to mobile. But many people who are moving in today, who are joining the internet today, start off on their mobile device. The fact that connectivity is easier, it is faster, and the fact that there's a lot of high-end smartphones available which can do a variety of jobs, including productivity tools, etc., has made mobile marketing a very big, strong force to reckon with. For many brands, they consciously opt for a mobile first policy because that's where they want to focus on. That's what they want to attack first in terms of their mobiles, in terms of their marketing strategy. So in addition to all this, there's also you're designing your website based on the user experience, optimizing your content using SEO, running campaigns, ad operations, client servicing, etc. In case if you are a digital publisher, all this also constitute part of digital marketing, and also all this while looking at data, analyzing, drawing insights on user behavior, etc. So again, analytics can be of different types. It can be your web analytics, it can be your campaign analytics, or it can even be your social media analytics. So what exactly influence mean in the area of digital marketing? It's basically the ability to create an effect, drive outcomes which are discerning, outcomes which are distinct, and which can actually influence consumer behavior online and which can change consumer behavior online. It's a mix of trust and reach. It's a combination of what we call relevance, reach, and resonance. So influencer marketing is a form of collaboration. What we see is that a brand or a business collaborates with an influential person to promote a product, a service, or an idea. So how exactly does it work? Now, social content creators with niche audience can offer more value to brands. These people have dedicated and engaged groups of followers on different channels. So yeah, where do you find these digital marketing influencers? This is a question for you. Where do you find these digital marketing influencers? Oh, yes, yes, indeed. You find a lot of them on social media. Okay. Celebrity endorsement was the earliest form of using a person's popularity to reach a broader audience. Now, the early forms of digital influencers were found on blogs and forums. And people used to follow them, people used to follow their advice, people used to look up to them for fixing some of their issues, etc. Now, an influencer today is someone who, one, has the power to affect the purchasing decisions of others because of his or her authority or knowledge or position or relationship with the audience. Also, an influencer is someone who has a distinct following in a particular niche with whom he or she engages. Now, the size of the following would be a factor of the kind of topics or the area that influencer is interested in or the influencer endorses. So what is the difference between a celebrity endorser and an influencer? Okay, so yeah, a celebrity influencer is more of a person who kind of endorses your brand, promotes your brand for a certain amount of money. All right. It's important to note that these individuals, the influencers, are not merely marketing tools, but they are social relationship assets, and brands can collaborate with them to achieve some of their marketing objectives. And these are not people who work with you just for the money part alone, just for a short duration as long as the money is coming. They can be people who can work with you for a longer duration, and it can really be a long term association. All right. So the question is, who has the largest number of Instagram followers? Who or what or whom? Which brand or which person has the largest number of followers? Well, it's a tricky question. Instagram has the largest number of followers at about 370 million. And if you look at the number of top influencers or top people with followers on Instagram, you would find a mix of sports person, Cristiano Ronaldo is big, and a mix of musicians, actors, reality stars. And also there are some brands which are there, which is very interesting. Brands like Nat Geo and Nike, they are amongst the top 20 brands which are interested, which have the largest number of followers on Instagram. Can you guess the profile or the person who has the largest number of followers in India? Again, I see that in India as well, it's a mix of sports person and movie stars, and of course, Mr. Modi, right? So that is what the uh, largest uh, profiles or the biggest influencers look like on Instagram in India. Okay. So people do look up to influencers in social media to guide them with their decision making process. And influencers in social media are people who have built a reputation for their knowledge and expertise on a specific topic. They make regular posts about that topic on their preferred social media channels and generate large followings of enthusiastic, engaged people who pay close attention to their views. So that's what an influencer is, or that's who an influencer is, and that's what they do. So let's look at some of the influencer marketing trends that's happening across the globe today. Okay, some stats. Okay, influencer marketing is set to make about 31.7 billion by 2025, and this is almost 3 times of what it is today. So that's the kind of growth that's going to happen in this space. Now let's look a bit more closely at the different aspects of influencer marketing, starting with what are the different types of digital influencer marketing. So influencer marketing can be classified based on the number of followers. So there is mega influencers. Mega influencers are people with a vast number of followers on their social networks. Although there are no fixed rules on the boundaries between different types of followers, a common view is that mega influencers are people who have more than 1 million followers on at least one social platform. Many mega influencers, if you notice, like Mr. Modi and Priyanka Chopra and Virat Kohli and Ariana Grande and Kim Kardashian, etc., have gained their fame offline. So they could be movie stars, they could be sports people, musicians, even as you saw in the case of the Kardashians and Jenners, reality television stars. You know, most of the Kardashian Jenner family is actually one of the biggest, some of the biggest Instagram influencers. Some mega influencers have gained their vast following through their online and social activities as well. Now, the thing for brands to take away is that only major brands should approach mega influencers for influencer marketing. Their service cost is high. Some of them charge up to, 1 million per post kind of a thing. And also, they are likely to be more fussy about the brand they would choose to partner with. And in virtually every case, mega influencers will be working through an agency. They are not likely to be working directly with you. And also, it means you have to jump through lots of hoops to reach them. Macro influencers, on the other hand, are about a level below the mega influencers and may be more accessible as influencer marketers. You can consider people with followers in the range of about 500,000 to 1 million as mega influencers. Now, this group tends to consist of two types of people. They are either B-grade celebrities who are yet to make it big, or they're successful online experts who have built a significant following than the other type of influencers like micro or mid-tier, etc. Now, this kind of macro influencers, basically people who are online experts, they are likely to be very useful for firms for engaging in influencer marketing. They have a very high profile and are excellent at raising awareness. And also, there are more macro influencers than mega influencers. So it is relatively easier for a brand to find someone who matches with their requirements, who has the same kind of target segment, and hence then collaborate with them. Micro influencers are ordinary everyday people who become known for their knowledge about a particular niche area. As such, they have usually gained a sizable social media following amongst devotees of that niche. And it's not just about the followers that indicates a level of influence. It's the relationship and interaction that a micro influencer has with his or her followers. Now, although views differ, you can consider a micro influencer as somebody having between 10,000 to 50,000 followers on a single social platform. A micro influencer at times may not even be aware of the existence of a company. So in that case, the company has to first convince the influencer of what the collaboration is worth. Micro influencers have built up specialist followings, and they will not harm their relationships with their fans just for the sake of promoting a product which does not align with their values or their image. The requirement for the relationship between micro influencers and brands to align with the target audience mean that influencers are often picky about with whom they work. Some micro influencers are fairly happy to promote a brand for free. Others will expect some form of payment. Regardless of the price, any influencer is unlikely to want involvement in an inappropriate brand of for their audience. Now, the nature of influence is changing. Micro influencers are becoming more common and more famous. In fact, some of them have risen from virtual obscurity to being nearly as known as some of the traditional celebrities. Now, this is particularly the case for Generation Z or Generation Z, who spend more time on the internet than watching television or going to movies or going to sporting related event. In all reality, micro influencers are going to be the influencers of the future. The internet has actually led to fragmentation of media into many small niche areas. And it is these niche groups and boards that micro influencers establish themselves as genuine influencers. A mid-tier influencer is somebody who has followings between a micro influencer and a macro influencer. All right, so that will be about 50,000 to about 500,000 followers. In addition to this, the newest influencer type to gain recognition is the nano influencer. These people only have a very small number of followers, but they tend to be experts in some obscure or highly specialized field. You can think of a nano influencer as being, the big fish in a small pond kind of person. In many cases, they may have anywhere between 1,000 to about 10,000 followers. But they are very keen, very interested followers, willing to engage with the nano influencer and listen to her or his opinions. While many brands would consider nano influencers as being inconsequential, they can be of extreme importance to firms which make highly specialized or niche products or niche services. For most firms, however, nano influencers lack sufficient influence to be of much use. They may be cheap and carry tremendous sway with small number of people, but it's in small niches. So as a brand, you might have to work with hundreds of nano influencers to reach a broad audience. Particularly mass brands like livers, P&G, etc., might not be very open to that kind of a tie-up where you really need to work with large number of small influencers. They would prefer to work probably with one mega influencer who has a much broader reach of the target audience. Now, this was actually one way of classifying influencers. The other ways include based on type of content. So it can be bloggers, it can be YouTubers, it can be podcasters or social media influencers. You can tag them based on the content. You can also classify influencers based on the level of influence. So that would mean step one is, of course, celebrities. Now, celebrities were the original influencers if you look at the journey of influencer marketing, and they still have a role to play, although their importance as influencers is on a wane. It's waning actually. Now, influencer marketing grew out of celebrity endorsement. Businesses had found for many years that their sales usually rise when a celebrity promotes or endorses their product. There are still many cases of companies, particularly high-end brands, using celebrities as influencers. You might probably have noticed brands like Patek Philippe and the Oriental Mandarin who use celebrities, movie stars, etc. to promote their product. At times, you might also have seen um, a different kind in the sense like where brands will work with people who are already in that space. Now, the problem for most brands is that there are not so many traditional celebrities willing to participate in this kind of influencer campaign, and they are unlikely to come cheap. Now, the exception will be if a firm makes a product that a celebrity already likes or uses. In that situation, the celebrity may be prepared to use his or her influence and say how good she believes the product to be, product or service. You would have noticed that a lot of celebrities, movie stars, etc., actually campaign for UN related activities. So there is the World Food Program, which Liam Neeson endorses. Priyanka Chopra, in fact, works for some of the UNICEF programs. So that is one area how brands can actually work with celebrities, but it's not an easy thing to do, and it's not a very common and prevalent thing to do. Also, many musical instrument producers do that kind of an association because many musicians use some of the brands and hence they are used for promoting as well. Now, one common problem that is there with celebrities as influencers is that they lack credibility. They lack credibility with the target audience. Now, do you recollect the brand of car that Shah Rukh Khan used to endorse? Yeah, do you guys remember that brand? Yes, he used to endorse a Hyundai brand. Yeah, i10, I think. Yeah. So, do you really think he rode that car in his daily life? Did he really run his errands in that car? Did he go to Pune or Goa in that car? Extremely unlikely, right? So, there is a question of credibility when it comes to celebrity endorsement. So, in addition to celebrities, there's also key opinion leaders who can be influencers. Industry experts and thought leaders can also be considered as influencers, and at times they hold important position for brands. Industry leaders and thought leaders gain respect because of their qualification, their position, their experience about a particular area, and often this respect is actually earned more because of the reputation of where they work. Now, these experts include journalists, academicians, industry experts, and professional advisors. You would have noticed that bloggers and content creators often work with industry leaders and thought leaders. And it is not uncommon to see them quoted in blog posts and even used in social media campaigns. One of the developing things is that the line between traditional media and the social media is blurring. The best influencers at times have also built their reputation for being expert in some particular niche area online. Now, they are similar to key opinion leaders, but usually have gained their reputation more informally through their online activity. And they have created that reputation through the quality of the social posts they make, the blog posts they write, the podcast they speak, and the videos they craft and post on the YouTube channels. Now, there's an agency in the UK which has come out with the term called chromo influencers. Now, these are basically the top 10% influencers of a particular brand. And they have scored all these influencers based on some 46 crucial factors that impact consumer behavior. That's a very interesting way of putting influencer out there and using influencer marketing and measuring it to see how effective it is. So let us look at some of the other trends. Now, the thing that comes to everybody's mind is, so what exactly do they do? What does an influencer do? So what do you think an influencer does? Right. So contrary to the popular belief that some of us have, an influencer is not somebody who spends all their time on social media taking selfies and in general trying to sound important. They make regular posts about specialized topics which are of interest to them. Now, these postings are on their preferred social media channels. They engage with their followers and pay close attention to their views. Now, the storytelling part must be carried out in a simple way that the audience can relate to, understand, and is incited enough to share it with their network. Let's talk a bit about content. Okay, now content that an influencer uses can be in the form of text, it can be in the form of images or videos. Now, videos are growing as the largest category of content across the digital media. It's growing at about 30 plus percentage per annum. So it's really a very important type of content that social media influencers look at. Let's explore some of these platforms which are good for videos. For short format videos, there of course is Instagram and Snapchat and TikTok. And for long forms, there is definitely Instagram TV, YouTube, and Facebook. Now, once TikTok has been banned, there's quite a bit of movement of influencers, TikTok influencers from TikTok to Instagram, because Instagram has also come out with Instagram Reels, which is a short video format, which is quite useful for those small videos that used to run on TikTok. Videos have maximum engagement rate on social media, and live videos of brand products get the highest ROI. So that's something brands really love about it. In addition to videos, there's also motion contents like GIFs, which are on high demand and which is actually growing. What's also seen is that in terms of performances, videos get a very good lift of 135% over other formats, other types of content. And in general, we seem to be spending 3 times more amount of time watching live videos than other forms of content. Now you would be wondering, how exactly does influencers get paid? So brands can engage with influencers for sponsored posts, images, videos, and of course brand campaigns. Now this depends on the social platforms where the influencer operates, right? Now, some of the common ways that influencers get paid are in terms of products. So there can be free products. For example, in the case of beauty products, let's say L'Oreal has identified an influencer and there is a new product launch that has happened. L'Oreal can send a set of the new range to the influencer, and the influencer can do a demo, create a video, talk about the product, etc. There can also be co-created products where I have seen it in the quilting space where a lot of quilters collaborate with brands, sewing machine brands, long arm machine brands, and there are new features and new additions added to sewing machines. At times, there are small tools that get added or introduced based on a feedback from the quilting community. So this is an opportunity how brands can collaborate and what the influencer can get in exchange. There can also be sub brands. Again, I'm going to give you the example of the sewing machine brand. So there is this Swiss machine called Bernina, which works with a quilter slash designer called Tula, and they have come out with this entire sub brand called Bernina Tula Pink. So it is a pink colored machine which is promoted by Tula, and yeah, that is the sub brand that the leading Swiss sewing machine came out with. There's also merchandising opportunity that comes out at times where the brand or the influencer can have merchandise items, and they can sell it, and they can co-brand it and reach out to their fan base. So that's about how products can be used in exchange for the content that the influencer is creating. It can also be based on fees, of course. Fees can be your good old transfer it to my bank kind of a thing, or it can even be payments to Patreon account. I don't know if you have heard of Patreon. Patreon is a website, patreon.com is a website which actually helps creators and fans come together on one particular platform. So you can pay and you can see some of the very exclusive content that would have got created. It can also be in fees can also be in terms of payments to a charity that an influencer supports or likes or works with. Payments can also be in terms of revenue share arrangement. If you would have followed Nat Geo, you would see that a lot of photographers actually collaborate with Nat Geo. And maybe whenever you make a sale in terms of a photograph or a video, there can be a rev share which can be planned between the brand and the influencer. Now, talking about the rates, the hard cash kind of a thing, an influencer who has over 500,000 followers, the rate per post on Instagram can be around 7 lakh per post. That's a decent, good amount of money actually. For a nano influencer, it will be about 8,000 rupees per post, and for a micro influencer, it can be up to about 18,000 rupees per post. Now, the interesting thing I want to call out here is the fact the way it has grown. Now, that is the most interesting takeaway from this. It's not the absolute value, but the rate of change that's happening. Basically, it's an indication of how important influencer marketing is beginning to look for brands. Now, we talked about, in the previous slide, we talked about influencers with over 500,000 followers. So do you remember what's the term for this influencer? What do we call this kind of influencers who have more than 500,000 followers? This is the pop quiz, okay? Yes, it is a macro influencer. Right, you're right. So what do brands gain from this collaboration with influencers? Why do they work with influencers? What's in it for them? Let's look at some of the reasons why brands want to collaborate with influencers. Influencers have both reach and influence on their audience. That makes it an ideal situation for brands which need the same kind of target audience. Brands love social media influencers because they can create trends, they are creative, and also they encourage their followers to buy products that they promote. So for a brand, it's about brand visibility, it's about generating leads, it's about increased product sales. And let's admit it, some of these influencers are very creative in terms of product usage, in terms of the content they are putting it up, and in terms of the other collaborations they do. Also, it brings certain amount of loyalty by virtue of the loyalty that the audience has towards the influencer. And sometimes, rarely, but sometimes the brand might be going through a battle in terms of a scandal, in terms of some environmental issue, a political issue, and they can also use an influencer to create certain amount of positivity around the brand by trying to talk to the audience and telling them it's a reliable brand, it's a good brand kind of a thing. And there are a couple of other reasons. Other reasons could be word of mouth, it could be referral programs, it could be running contests, it could be giveaways that the brand is planning, etc. So if you are a brand, if you are a brand manager, if you're running a brand, how will you go about the entire influencer marketing part? How would you get started with it? How will you get going? So step one is often about having a strategy. Your influencer strategy should align with your social media strategy, which in turn should align with your digital marketing, your overall marketing, and your entire business strategy. Step two is plan your budget. Plan how much you're going to spend on your traditional marketing channels and your online marketing channels, and what share of your online marketing should be your influencer marketing. Step three, spend time on research. Find out more about the industry, find out more about the topics that matter in the industry, find out about influencers, and find out about areas that's common between you and the influencer. Step 4, how to approach your influencer. Will you find them organically, or are you planning to work through an agency, right? Are you going to use some kind of a tool, look at data that's coming in, and then go and choose your influencer? Or you will hire an agency and ask them to find an influencer for you. Step 5 is, of course, shortlisting your influencer and engaging with them and finding common grounds to work on. All right. Then discuss the modalities, the type of content, the frequency of post, etc. Step 7 will be integrating with the rest of your marketing calendar. This is very important step, in fact. So you need to make sure that your influencer strategy aligns with the rest of your marketing calendar in terms of your product launches, your public relations, your other social media activities, etc. Step 8 is, of course, discuss the financial part if there is any, the do's and don'ts that the influencers should be aware of, and the terms and conditions of the engagement. Now, remember to do a periodic review of the association from time to time. So that can be every month or every 3 months, a quarterly review or a half-yearly review, and see where you stand in terms of the engagement, where you stand in terms of your metrics, and how you want to proceed from there. And if there are learnings that needs to be brought into both your strategy as well as that of the content plan that the influencer has. You need to remember that the influencer marketing isn't just about finding someone with an audience and offering them money or exposure so that they can say good things. That's what celebrities are for. That's what celebrity endorsement is for. Influencers are people who have spent time and energy building their own brand and cultivating their audience. So they are going to be quite protective about their reputation and the people who trust them. So that's what's there for the brand. Now, the thing that comes to one's mind is, what does it take to be a digital marketing influencer? Let's look at the other side of it. All right. So the thumb rule is to ensure that you know your area of expertise well. So one is that you need to know it as of now. Two is that you need to be passionate about it, to know more about it, to dig more about it, and to continuously keep improving yourself. So, what are those steps involved in becoming a digital marketing influencer? It all begins with creating content. Step one, create content. Step two, promote your content. Share your content and be consistent in your postings. Be consistent with your topics. Research on other influencers. Keep an eye on the following versus follower ratio, and be careful about your hashtags. We will look into each of these areas a little bit more in detail as we proceed to the next couple of slides. Let's start with content. Step one is definitely about identifying your niche area. You cannot be a jack of all trades if you want to be an influencer. Select an area which plays to your strengths and your passion. That way, you will constantly be adding to your knowledge and you will be looking for newer creative ways for reaching out to your audience. Now, your topic or your area can be anything from travel, lifestyle, fashion, food, beauty, sports, gaming, entertainment, technology, health and fitness. It can be any of these things. And you don't necessarily have to stick to just these established and fairly well-known niches. You can move into something really obscure as well. For example, vegan travel. Or you can combine some of these topics like gaming and technology, beauty and lifestyle, travel and food. So these are some of the ways in which you can find your niche area. Step two is, of course, decide on your audience. Determine who is your audience and develop a unique persona for that audience. Today, there are enough and more tools available which will help you to get an understanding of the wants, the needs, the challenges, and goals of your ideal follower so that you can use that to help solve and address some of their challenges. And it will also point you to the right niche area where you should establish yourself as an influencer. Promoting your content. Plan your channel. It's important to pick the right social platform where audience with interests that align with your areas of interest are present and are willing to engage with you. So, question: which are the biggest social media networks for influencers? Okay, right. So, two of the most prominent social networks where influencers are really thriving today are, of course, Instagram and LinkedIn. Right. However, you need to choose a platform based on where your ideal audience is. Your ideal audience may not be spending most of their time on LinkedIn or Insta. They might be spending it on YouTube. So YouTube is what you should be choosing. Let's look at sharing content. Okay. Now, your area of interest and your audience profile will influence your content plan. If you want to quickly grow your following and establish yourself as a social media influencer, you need to make sure that you choose the right social media channel based on your niche and ideal audience. For example, although LinkedIn is gaining more traction with lifestyle content, influencers can succeed on this platform when they focus on career or academic tips or job related content. While LinkedIn does offer video posting options, influencers can also embrace text more heavily on this platform by publishing either blog style posts or regular text posts. Now, what I would suggest is stick to using two or three networks. Otherwise, you will be spreading yourself too thin and you will find it difficult to build your credibility and your following. Follow the 80-20 rule. Spend 80% of your time in marketing your content and 20% in creating it. Push your content on various social media platforms first and encourage your followers to share it in their network and spread the news. Now, content can be a mix of text, images, videos, infographics, tutorials, etc. You can use a combination of curated content where you can find the best content available on the platform or on the internet and share it with your followers. And of course, you need to do the attribution from wherever you have sourced that. You can also create your own educational and informative content. And also, you can add a few posts about yourself. So that could be behind the scene post, or it could be a bit about what you did on Saturday, kind of a thing, which basically helps in building up relationship and making it look as if no, you're not into it just like another corporate brand. You should also check out for some of the other best practices. This include looking out for the best days and times when to distribute content for each of the most popular social media networks. Preferably, Stick to one theme per social media channel. More importantly, it helps you to categorize the different types of content you publish and helps you keep organized. Customize your messages. If your channels are Instagram and YouTube, make sure that they are distinct. There is a certain amount of difference between them. Probably you can use a short video format on Insta and a longer duration format on YouTube, so that if there is somebody who is common to both the channels, feels it convenient, feels it good, feels it um, useful in coming to both these profiles and checking out your content. Make sure to optimize posts for mobile. This is very important because most of us access our social media profiles on mobile, and it's extremely critical right now. Question: so how many hours do you spend on the mobile on a day, on an average? How many hours do you spend on the mobile? Okay, here's some trivia. An average person spends over 3 hours on his or her device, and 80% of it is actually spent on social media. So you have seen it, how important it is to reach the watering hole. So the watering hole is basically where your customers, your consumers congregate. So you need to reach your customers, or your consumers, or your prospective consumers, where they like to be at. And yes, of course, maintain your content. So these are the 3 R's of influencer marketing: the reach, the repetition, and the reaction. All right. So reach is about the number of people. So it could be the number of people who are following you, or it could be the number of people your content reached. Repetition is the act of creating content regularly so that you're consistent in your content post on a particular platform. For example, if you're a vegan advocate, you can start a series for vegans, combine it with travel and tourism, and you need to constantly keep posting about places to travel, description of food to eat, local cuisine, local culture, etc. Reaction is, of course, the engagement that you have with your audience. Now, bigger isn't always better. A huge follower count is meaningless if those followers aren't interested in what you have got to say. And a smaller follower count can be very powerful if it is a niche area. Niche influencers can have very dedicated and engaged followers. Okay. It has been found that the engagement rates are often higher for micro influencers and for nano influencers. So basically, they have fewer followers, but their words are, as good as gold for their fans or followers. Research on existing influencers. It helps you to understand the areas of improvement. It also helps you in finding key areas that are not covered by influencers, and hence what you can work on. So you should not only see the topics that the influencers have managed, you should also look out for where they are sharing these pieces of content. So it basically shows you the social media channel that you should be focusing on, and probably use it for growing your following. The following and the follower ratio. Okay. So try keeping your following below your follower count, particularly if you're working with brands that matter a lot. In case if these numbers, the number of your following somebody is much higher, brands will really question your credibility as an influencer. But you should always follow accounts of fellow influencers who inspire you, add value to you in terms of exploring content, in terms of exploring ideas, etc., and grow your network. While you're still in the process of establishing your credibility and your expertise as a social media influencer, you will need to actively grow your follower base. One of the most effective ways of doing this is through blogging. Even though more internet users are turning to social media networks for information, the fact remains that you don't entirely own your space there. One misstep, and you can easily have your account taken down. Look at what has happened to TikTok. People just lost all their content and followers, right? Blogging can also help you kickstart your follower base by helping you get discovered. By including social media sharing buttons on each of your posts, your visitors can share your content with their respective networks, of course. And remember to engage with your followers. When your followers leave a question or comment on your post, take the time to acknowledge and respond to them. That can make them feel like they are valued and you sincerely want to associate with them. And it brings a sense of loyalty amongst your followers. Now, of course, not all comments and questions will be positive. As an influencer, expect that. And you will have your fair share of negative comments and criticisms. Make it a point to keep your cool and address them professionally. All right? Hashtags. Now, Instagram hashtags can make or break your Instagram strategy, okay? Use them correctly, and you will get your post seen by more people who are likely to be interested in your products or your brand. But use the wrong one, and you can actually damage from annoying potential followers to getting penalized by Instagram's algorithm. Use hashtag to ensure your content is discovered by the interested audience. Don't use hashtag which you feel can work. Back it up with data. There are many tools available, some free, some paid, which will help you to generate the trending hashtags. So there is Hootsuite, there is Sprout Social, etc., which will help you to identify the trending hashtags, which will analyze your pages, and you can use that data to decide on your hashtags. And it's not just the trending hashtags that you can work on, you can also look at the related hashtags. So people can also choose to follow hashtags. You might be already knowing that, which means they could see your content or your post in their feed, even if they don't really follow you yet. Okay. Now, let's look at some of the types of hashtags that's available. So it can be about product or service, like, hashtag handbag or hashtag chocolate bar, etc. There can also be niche hashtags. Now, these get a little bit more specific, showing where you fit in the context of your industry, like travel blogger, food blogger, vegan baker, etc. Now, industry in Instagram community hashtags. These are basically uh, there are communities which exist on Instagram, and these hashtags can help you find and join them. So think of hashtags like gardeners of Instagram, artists of Instagram, painters of Instagram, etc. There can also be special event or seasonal hashtags, right? You can also use location hashtags. So even if you geotag your Instagram post, it can still be a good idea to include a hashtag that refers to your location. For example, Delhi Dabas or Vancouver craft beer or Mumbai eats, etc. Daily hashtags are other way of putting it up. Monday blues, Monday morning blues. Yes. Sunday fun day is very popular. Absolutely. Okay. There can also be relevant phrase hashtags. These hashtags combine elements of product hashtags, niche hashtags, community hashtags. So this would include hashtags like I am a writer, she who wanders, solo women bikers. Some of these are hashtags which are um, phrase hashtags, what we call as phrase hashtags. There's also acronym hashtags. Can you think of an acronym hashtag which is popular with you? Yes, there is TBT, the Throwback Thursday, or there is FBF, the Flashback Friday. And you all know about YOLO. Yes, everybody knows about YOLO. You only live once. And there's also quite a bit of OOTD that I see at times, which is the outfit of the day kind of a hashtag. Many people also use emoji hashtags, like, hashtag a couple of question marks kind of a thing. So the question now is, how many hashtags can you use? On Insta, you can use up to 30, but it's not really recommended to use so many of it. You can use up to 30 hashtags on a regular post and maybe up to 10 on a story. If you add more, your comment or your caption will not get posted, and it's better to avoid. Even 30 is not recommended. Maybe about 5 to 10 is what would be recommended. A word of caution, or rather words of caution: avoid banned hashtags. Okay, using banned hashtags can cause a drop in engagement, as your use of legitimate hashtags might also become affected, because you will be dropped in the algorithm, you'll be penalized in the algorithm, right? Avoid hashtags that are shamelessly soliciting likes and followers, like for example, like for like, follow for follow, follow me, like me, that kind of hashtags. Avoid them. And third one is, of course, do not use irrelevant or repetitive hashtags. So if you use the same set of hashtags for every post, you're likely to get penalized by the algorithm that Insta uses. Now, a couple of other things that you should keep in mind: evaluate your progress. Most social media channels give you insights and analytics to monitor your progress. Things like, some give demographics, some give reach, some give engagement rate. That will help you to estimate how quickly you are growing and what is the kind of scale that you can achieve. It also tells you what kind of content actually brings in the largest amount of engagement, and hence what you should do more, kind of a thing. And also, if you're planning to collaborate with brands, brands definitely look for data. So be ready to share them, be ready to learn how to use data, and read data and draw insights out of it. Stay updated. If you have been active on any social media channel, you would know that how often networks update their algorithms as well as their terms and conditions. And as an aspiring influencer, you need to keep yourself updated about all these things. There are rules and regulations when it comes to postings, particularly sponsored postings, etc., which you need to adhere to. And also, at times, there are a lot of features which come up. And as an influencer, you should know how to leverage them so that you can grow your base and you can get a certain amount of advantage over other influencers in the same space. Be consistent. Now, if there is one thing that surpasses the quality of content, it is consistency. That's because your followers need to be able to count on you and deliver quality content on a consistent basis. So what happens if you don't? Tell me what happens if you don't post regularly and if you're not very consistent. Yeah, they will stop following you. Even if they follow you, they will not pay attention to you. Now, there are a lot of tools. As I mentioned, there's Hootsuite, there is Sprout Social, etc., which will enable you to schedule your post without manually having to do it every day. So you just plan your calendar, schedule it, and let it run the course. So these are some of the tips for being an influencer. How to collaborate with the brand? That's a thought that might come to some of your minds. One way is definitely to tag the brands when you are talking about their products. For example, some of the lifestyle influencers tag Fab India when they wear a particular apparel or when they are giving a lifestyle tip. You might also have noticed, if you're on Insta, you would have noticed that lots of photographers collaborate with National Geographic with their work. And there's quite a good amount of cross pollination that happens because of this tagging, cross tagging that they do. You can also explore programs like Amazon's influencer program, which is an extension of their existing online associates program for social media influencers. So basically, you will have a page on the Amazon site and you can promote some of the products, etc. So that's something that you can explore. So in addition to influencer marketing, let's also briefly look at what are the other roles that's available in digital marketing. So can you tell me about some of the roles that come to your mind in digital marketing? So there, of course, is the digital marketing executive and the digital marketing manager. Now, an executive is somebody with a good understanding of all aspects of digital marketing. And a digital marketing manager will have a greater share of strategy in addition to supervising the operational aspects of campaigns, content, social media, etc. Now, a digital marketing manager can be a mid to senior level role, whereas a digital executive would mostly be a fresher or an initial level kind of a role. A marketing manager, a digital marketing manager will also at times lead a team of marketers who do specialized functions, including SEO, content, search, social media, etc. A digital marketing manager is also expected to be tuned into developments that's constantly happening in this space. So that could be emerging technologies like chatbots, experiential marketing, etc. So there's also SEO specialist. Well, it's someone who uses social search engine optimization and are critical resources for generating traffic and customers. Most of the time, they have to work closely with the technology team or the development team to ensure that the site meets the hygiene parameters and also to look out for the best SEO practices. Now, one expectation is also that they need to upgrade themselves constantly and also to adapt themselves to the changing search algorithms. So there's also social media manager who leads initiatives related to social media, Facebook, Insta, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Pinterest, etc. Now that could be about publishing, it could be about campaign management, it could be about analytics and insights. She or he ensures that the brand has a consistent image across the different social media channels and is responsible for converting the marketing strategies into social media strategies and executing them. All right. There's also the SEM specialist who will run campaigns, predominantly PPC campaigns based on search. Now, she or he will be involved in budgeting, planning the campaign, executing the campaign, evaluating the campaign, optimizing the campaign, and also including the feedback into the next set of campaigns. There can also be a content marketing manager whose role will evolve, whose role will revolve around planning, creating, sharing of content, which could be text, images, video, infographics, white papers, webinars, etc. And the purpose of all this is basically to attract and convert new customers and also to engage with existing customers and to encourage more consumption. That could be of service, that could be of product. Now, in addition to this, there can also be email marketing specialists who works towards designing the campaign calendar, works with the creative team, designs the template, looks at the data, make sure the email list is clean, make sure the laws and regulations of a country are respected in terms of user privacy, and also evaluates the performance of the campaigns. There can also be a mobile marketing manager who specializes in the mobile ecosystem, looks for app store optimization, looks for mobile pages which are user friendly, also looks at different paid campaigns. So these are some of the roles that you will see in an organization which pertain to digital marketing. Okay, so we will be talking about some of the pay scales that we see in India and the US in the next couple of slides. So digital marketing manager can make anywhere between 2.5 lakhs to about 10 lakhs per year, right? And the figure for US, the average number for India is about 5.5 lakhs, and for US it's about 65, 66,000 USD. The social media manager, on the other hand, has an average salary of about 3.5 lakhs and ranges from 1.5 to about 7 lakhs per year. In the US, the average salary is about 51K USD. The content marketing manager can have an average salary about 5 lakhs in India, ranging from 2.5 to 10 lakhs. And the corresponding number in US is about 60K USD. An SEM specialist, on the other hand, will be making an average of about 3.75 lakh per year and will range from about 2.5 to 7.5 lakhs. In the US, the median salary would be about 47K USD. So all this would depend upon what level you are at, your experience, what you have been doing all this while. It would also depend upon the company, whether it is a startup, whether it is an MNC, whether it is a BPO, etc. Okay, so it's a factor of multiple things. So before we wind up today, we will talk a bit about the future of digital marketing as we expect it to happen in the next couple of years. Artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence or AI will become the norm in terms of marketing strategy because of its increasingly accurate ability to analyze consumer behavior and feed it into better, more interactive and personalized purchasing decision. Many of us would have already observed and mighty impressed by Amazon and Netflix because their AI features help in this really kick-ass recommendation engine that they have. And you would also have noticed the kind of product recommendation that comes in at times with Amazon, which is very impressive based on not only what you have purchased, but also what people like you have purchased. That's a very interesting thing that's been done. We will continue to see it being used in a range of up and coming marketing applications. So that would include content creation, of course. That would include voice and face recognition. That would include chatbots, digital assistants, and highly targeted marketing strategies and campaigns. Now, it's predicted that about 86% of all digital display ads will be through automation and through programmatic advertising. I also see quite a bit of personal digital assistants happening. So most of us have heard of Alexa and Google Assistant, and some of us would already be using it. So these are basically AI-driven personal assistants designed to stay connected on a personal level to people at all points in their day-to-day lives. Now, this market is actually expected to double next year. So that's how big it's going to be. All right. And devices made by different companies will start contacting each other for information. Yes, they're going to start collaborating. That is one thing that's going to happen. The other interesting thing that's going to happen is that they're going to become integrated with some of the productivity and business tools and programs with the goal of helping us becoming more productive. Now, the other development I see is the social media. Social media will shift in function. We are watching more videos, more media, and we are doing less of networking or less of social stuff on social media. Blogs and website usage will reduce. What I also foresee is greater use cases for experiential marketing like VR, virtual reality, and AR, augmented reality. Now, chatbots. As AI advances, chatbots will become more able to have real conversations, thus potentially improving the landscape for UX in a very big way for digital marketers. I know that today they are not very nice to interact with, they suck at times, but they will continue to evolve into more practical, versatile tools for both businesses and consumers. Voice search. Those considering going into a specialty that's focused on SEO should have at least a basic understanding of how voice search and speech recognition can shape their brand building. One study points to the fact that over 40% of teens and adults are using voice search daily, and this number is constantly increasing. So, technology use and adaptation will see a lot of marketing roles coming up, which will not just be about technology and CIOs alone. The last point that I want to call out is the influencer marketing bit. It's likely to grow into a continuous strategy rather than something that focuses on, for instance, a single product. Marketers will want to consider building relationship with influencers, both on the micro and the macro levels, as more and more audience in the millennial generation and the generation Z or generation Z becomes consumers and customers of a brand. Now, these demographics would be better accessible by using influencer marketing. So that's what we have today in influencer marketing. To quickly wrap up, we covered the basics of digital marketing, what it is about, what are the different aspects. We looked at influencer marketing. We looked at what are the kind of trends, what are the different types of influencers, how much does an influencer make, etc. We also looked at how what brands gain in terms of influencer marketing, and what is in it for how can you and I be an influencer marketing? What are those different things that an influencer needs to keep in mind while he or she plans? We also looked at a couple of other things, including the different roles in digital marketing in addition to influencer marketing. We also talked about what's the kind of salary expectations one can have for some of these roles. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's webinar, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is me signing off. Thank you, guys.